We have it.
Okay, let's take it from the top. This meeting is now called to order, June 28, 2021. Councilmember Vanchery, lead us in the flag salute, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Kraus, please read the statement of public notice.
Take notice that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with NJSA 10:4-8 and NJSA 10:4-10 as follows. The notice of the meeting was prominently posted on the bulletin board at the municipal building located at 225 Main Street, Little Falls, New Jersey on February 17th, 2021. Copy of the notice was mailed to the North Jersey Herald and News and the Record on the same date. Additionally, a copy of the notice was filed in the office of the township clerk on said date. This meeting is being conducted under the circumstances surrounding the COVID-19 health situation. No public will be allowed to attend the meeting in person. A link and a telephone number to join the meeting can be accessed on the township website at www.lfnj.com. Electronic provisions have been established for the public to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Kraus. At this time, please call the roll.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Present.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Present.
Councilmember Sieber,
Present.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Present.
Council President Scoba.
Present. If there's no objections, we'll take both minutes of meetings of May 24th and June 14th. Can I have a motion to approve those 2 minutes?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Councilmember Kawadi, second by Councilmember Hablitz. Mrs. Kraus, please call the roll for the meeting of May 24th and the meeting of June 14th minutes.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Sieber,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. We'll start with council reports. Councilmember Hablitz, please.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to report the library had its summer book drive Friday and Saturday. It was very successful. We had a local ice cream truck and there were lots of people who came to the sale. I also want to report that tomorrow will be the final Friends of the Library meeting for this year. They will start back up in September, but tomorrow's meeting that is virtual, we are still looking for a vice president and a secretary for the Friends of the Library. And again, they do really help. They were the ones who put on the book drive and they do really help fundraise for the library. So if anyone's interested or knows someone interested, please join the virtual meeting tomorrow night. That's all I have to report tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Kawadi.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to say thanks to the members of the Domestic Violence Prevention Committee who were at the farmers market yesterday, raising awareness and being available to anyone who's been a victim or knows someone who has been a victim of that particular issue. We have some exciting, fun things coming up this summer that I want to talk about very quickly. The movie nights are going to begin on July 28th. And there's going to be 5 of them. The movies will be announced, but we're looking forward to Christmas in July and Halloween in August, and 3 other films after that. One of which will be Jaws, because we've had requests for that for a couple of summers now, and so I'm happy to say this is the year we're going to show Jaws. But there will be 2 other films that will be announced. The Little Falls Business Association is going to have Little Falls Week. And that's going to be July 12th to the 17th. It's going to start off with an event at the library with some activities. And then the Tuesday night of that week will be the block party. The Thursday night are the concerts in the park as always. And then Water Fun Fest is on Saturday, July 17th, which is going to be a giant water gun fight and water slides and a dunk tank that somebody on this Zoom call has promised he'll be at. I hope he remembers, Mayor. And so we're looking forward to a fun event on Saturday the 17th. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to the people who reached out to me after the last council meeting. I appreciate your support. That's it for me.
Thank you, Councilmember Kawadi. Councilmember Sieber.
Thank you, Council President.
So yesterday was, I believe, our 4th market. And as you heard, we had some great community outreach program at our farmers market yesterday. We did have Friends of the Library there. We did have the domestic violence team there. But in addition, big thank you to the Clifton Board of Health. They came out and actually did a vaccination clinic yesterday at our farmers market where you can just walk up and get a Moderna shot. And then they will follow up with you on the 2nd shot. So it was a great outreach. We did get people. I'm not even sure they were all from the community, but it was great to see people show up, some specifically just to get their vaccine. So that was a big success, and much thank you to our Clifton Board of Health for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Vanchery.
Thanks, Council President. First, I just want to provide a reminder that Little Falls Night is going to take place on Friday, July 9th at Yogi Berra Stadium in Little Falls. I met with the Jackals general manager and president last week as we were finalizing the details. I'm just waiting for them to send the final flyer along with the promo link for people to purchase tickets in advance. So I should have that, if not tonight, tomorrow. So I'll make sure to blast that out to remind everyone. And, you know, hopefully we'll get a mix of residents from the town, not just the athletes in town, but also just general people who just want to come out and have a good time. Just so everyone knows too, at that night, we will have a ceremonial first pitch. Looks like Mayor Damiano, you're up. So start working out the arm, make sure you throw a strike. We're working with the fire department as well to have the color guard present. We also are working to finalize having a local resident do the national anthem, and all of the in-game activities will be available for Little Falls residents only. So looking for a good night. And then obviously we'll have all of the athletes, no matter what sport they've participated in, as long as they're wearing their shirt, they can march on the field before the game as well. So more details to come with the flyer through the email blast, but just want to let everyone know that's happening. So mark your calendars down. One thing I just wanted to touch on, because I see him on the Zoom as well, Mr. Barone. So last meeting, Tom Barone had expressed some concerns regarding the delivery trucks that were delivering cars near the Schumacher Chevrolet property, as well as the Mavis discount tire store. So based on the concerns that were brought forth at the last meeting, reached out to Chief Post after our meeting, and then a couple days later, him and I met at the site along Main Street and looked at where the concerns were. And then after doing some due diligence, looking at our ordinances, Chief Post went back and actually marked up where the yellow curbing should be painted. And a few days later, the DPW department was out there painting the yellow lines, indicating where vehicles are no longer allowed to park. So appreciate, you know, Mr. Barone bringing that to our attention. And just a reminder to anyone, you know, if you see something, people are parked illegally, doing something they shouldn't be doing, pick up the phone, call the police station. They're happy to go down and write up the tickets that are necessary. But again, thanks for bringing that to our attention. And thanks to Chief Post as well as the DPW department for moving so swiftly with this. That's it for me, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Vanchery. On behalf of the mayor and myself, I want to thank the council members for all the time and effort, excuse me, that you put in to running these events. Not only I know it takes a tremendous amount of hours, but the events themselves are nothing but top notch. So on behalf of the mayor and myself, thank you so much for that effort. The next meeting, our next council meeting on July 12th will start at 6 o'clock. Our professional staff has some conflicts, so we're moving that time to 6 o'clock. It will be the last time we have a Zoom meeting. The next meeting after that, July 26th, we will be in council chambers. We hope to also have a hybrid of a Zoom as well as that in council chambers, and hopefully that will come to be. The staff is currently working to make sure that happens. For the senior advisories on July 21st, as was mentioned before, at the Civic Center, Mark Dacey is going to be performing. He's from Wayne. He's going to start his performance at 1 o'clock. It goes on for 2 hours. We're going to have some snacks for the seniors as well as some yummy ice cream from the creamery. So we look forward to that event. Those12 please contact the rec center to sign up. And also on August 14th at 12 o'clock, the seniors are going to be having their barbecue. So they're moving full-fledged ahead with their programs. They're very anxious to start to converse and meet other seniors. Again, that's August 14th from 12 to 3 at the American Legion in the Singac Memorial Post. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First, as you indicated, July 26th, we are looking to be back in person in council chambers with a hybrid meeting. In fact, today, I was out on a jog when Nelson, our IT tech at Town Hall, called me, and I was only a couple hundred feet from Town Hall, and I popped in to, I think, nail down the final wiring to make sure that the sound is up and running. We have a couple more days of tests to make sure that we are in fact up and running at 100% capacity, but it looks like all signs are indicating we will be fully able to have the hybrid meeting on July 26th for those in person, as well as those who want to appear over Zoom. So fingers crossed, we will be ready to go. But I will say again, barring any technical difficulties, of course, we will be there in person if you'd like to join us. Otherwise, again, barring technical, you'll be able to join us over Zoom. So that's that. As far as some items that are on this evening's agenda, we have a couple of items that are on the agenda for introduction that did not make their way to a prior workshop. They are things that have been discussed a number of times in the past, and I just want to bring it to everyone's attention before they are introduced by the council this evening. One is the zoning ordinance addressing specifically cannabis throughout the municipality. The council is looking to introduce an ordinance this evening that would allow the class 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 licenses, which are the grower license, processor license, wholesaler license, distributor license, and delivery license in 2 districts in town. One of them is the B2 district. That is the highway zone. Of course, there are requirements that don't permit it to be very close to a school zone, and also ones that don't permit too many of the same licenses to be used within close proximity to the other, in an effort to limit the total number of cannabis distributors in town. And again, the one you may have noticed that I did not mention was the Class 5 license, which is the retail license. Those are currently and will continue to be specifically prohibited in the B2 zone. And I say that because there's been a lot of discussion that I've had with the council members, and I know Council President has reached out to all of the council members. And the one thing that you are not allowed to do, or I should say that the way that this works is once you opt into permitting a particular license in town, you are stuck to that for a period of at least 5 years. And if somebody is utilizing the license on a site, it would remain grandfathered in perpetuity. What you are allowed to do, though, in the alternative is if you prohibit a particular license, such as the Class 5 retail license in the B2 zone, if in 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, we decide that, you know what, maybe it is appropriate to allow this in this particular zone, you are allowed to opt in at any time and permit it in the future. But again, you are not allowed to opt out at any time. So I think that's important to note. Now, all of these particular licenses have a number of very specific requirements that will and will not be permitted. For example, there will not be any sort of cannabis insignia or any sort of leaf or anything related to cannabis that will be visible from anywhere from the exterior of the building. There will also be a requirement that there be absolutely no odor emanating from any of the establishments in which any of these 5 licenses are permitted to be used. There is one other zone or district in town. It's a special district that is created that will also allow the same set of criteria, being the permitted licenses and the prohibited license being the retail license. That will be in a special district, which will be, it is now currently a light industrial zone. It is the area between Route 46 and Patterson Ave. I'm sorry, Route 46 and essentially up to Patterson Ave, almost where it splits by Maple Street. A little bit before that will be a special district zone where those types of licenses will also be permitted. So it's important to note again that right now the ordinance does not permit any retail licenses to be issued in the township. So that is one of the ordinances that will be on this evening's agenda for introduction by the council. Of course, there will be plenty of time for public comment on those, as well as a second reading that will have a public hearing if additional comment is needed then. Another ordinance that will make its way onto this evening's agenda is the Fire Division Ordinance. And the Fire Division Ordinance, because of this form of government and the way that the township is set up, we're only allowed 3 departments in town. And I say that because the fire department, although technically referred to and commonly called the fire department through the township and reporting requirements, they will be designated as a fire division. Again, although they will be operating as the Little Falls Township Fire Department. And I say that because we never want to take away the fire department's name as the fire department. But in this form of government, we're only allowed 3 departments in town, and the fire department is not one of them technically. So the Fire Division Ordinance is being introduced this evening. I have met previously with some of the department chief, as well as some of the company chiefs, and explained to them that this evening's introduction of this ordinance is simply that, an introduction of it, that there will be plenty of time for discussion, and I plan on having a meeting with the fire department chief, Jeff Altanji, as well as a assistant chief from each company and a captain from each company, in an effort to make sure that the terms and the language that's contained in the Fire Division Ordinance meets with everybody's satisfaction. And that at that point, the council can then introduce, or really, if need be, if there are substantial changes made, can reintroduce. If there's not substantial changes made, can then adopt the ordinance after we have some discussion, and any changes that may be necessary are made. So that is the Fire Division Ordinance. It is an amendment to the current ordinance and will revoke and replace the current ordinance that is there. The other item on this evening's agenda that is an ordinance for introduction is the Fire Prevention Bureau. And what we are really doing here is bringing the Fire Prevention Department in line with, I guess, surrounding and similar fire prevention bureaus. And what we are doing is we are actually making the fire official, the official that will deal with fire safety in town, not the fire chief. They will be dealing with our things like our Knox box rapid entry key system. That is where on some commercial buildings, people may have noticed a very small box near an entrance that is uniform. There's a key that allows the fire department access to buildings in the event of an emergency. So our fire official will monitor our Knox box program. It will not be the fire chief. That is, again, really the way that it should be run, since they are in charge of fire safety throughout the municipality. I have no other agenda items except to note that there were 2 plaques that were previously displayed at the recreation complex in town before the renovations. One of them was a plaque dedicated to Dan Duva, as many of us refer to the field as Duva Field. There was a plaque that was donated in his honor there in August of 1998. And that plaque, along with the plaque honoring Jackie Cordino in April of 2001, I believe it was, those 2 plaques have been restored to be displayed down at the shack. They are displayed on each side of the shack where you would generally place your orders, above the windows. So those are there and visible again. And is everyone able to hear me?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, I just saw my internet connection was unstable. Just wanted to make sure I was still live. And that is all that I have for this evening's updates, unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Mayor. Does the council have any questions, Mayor, regarding this report this evening? Seeing none, we'll move forward. Can I have a motion to open the meeting for the public for agenda items only?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery, second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Hablitz. Mrs. Kraus, please, I'm sorry. All those in favor of opening to the public signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that motion signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Mrs. Kraus, please read the statement.
Members of the public who desire to provide comment shall raise their virtual hand in the Zoom application. The meeting moderator will cue the members of the public that wish to provide comment, and the council president will recognize them in order. Members of the public who have joined the meeting by calling in must press *6 to mute and unmute themselves and *9 to raise their hand. Members of the public who have joined the meeting via the Zoom application must click the reactions icon and then the raise hand icon. Please give your name and address for the record. Once the process is complete, we will return to the regular order of business.
Thank you, Mrs. Kraus. The floor is now open. Mr. Krusha, is that Mr. Fernandez?
Mr. Fernandez will be first.
Okay, Mr. Fernandez, the floor is open. Mr. Fernandez?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, very
Yes.
good.
Okay.
The floor is
Excellent.
yours.
Thank you. Thank you.
welcome.
First of all, I like to,
I'm sorry, Mr. Fernandez, you got to say your name and address for the record.
oh, I'm sorry,
That's all right.
I forgot.
All right.
Luis Fernandez, Harrison Street.
Thank you.
You're welcome. First of all, I like to, the fact we're gonna have these meetings in person, which adds a little bit more character to the meeting. It's quite difficult for me to express myself through a computer, and I'm sure it happens to somebody else, not just me. So I'm glad on July 26th, we're gonna be in person, and I hope my seat has missed me as much as I have missed the seat. But anyway, let's begin. Mr. Mayor, I hope, I was hoping that you explain some of the resolutions. Like, first of all, the bonding, the general improvement bonds in the amount of $14,250,000. That's number one. And my question is, what is that money for? How much does the Little Falls owes in bonds right now? Without the 14 million plus. The other one is ordinance, you touched it briefly, ordinance 1415. What is the B2 district? What area does it B2 district? Ordinance 1416, it says a special commercial district west of Patterson Avenue between the 16 TV-CV2 zone and Route 46, which was previously designed L1 on the zoning map. I guess that's my area, the Jackson Park area. And to that matter, let me add, I don't know what you people have against the people in Jackson Park. And I'm gonna explain. We have trailers, 18-wheel trailers in our area for years, over a year. You have done absolutely nothing. The electronic signs on Route 46, everybody fought it. Where did they put it? In our neighborhood. Nothing is being done about the flooding. For years and years, nothing has been done. Nothing, not even a scoop of dirt has been removed to improve the area on the flooding on the Peckman River. And now, to add insult to our injury, the cannabis, whatever you call it, marijuana, in our area. Don't we pay the same amount of taxes? Don't we have anything to say about them? All right, let's continue.
Mr. Fernandez, can we answer some of your questions before you continue? Because
It's up to you. Sure,
if you
absolutely.
don't mind, and you could.
No.
If you have some other
No.
questions, we can entertain those other questions. So
Okay,
I think
excellent.
your first question to the mayor and this council was of the bonds of 14,250,000. What is
Correct,
that about? And
absolutely.
what is the difference? Also, you were asking, I think, of all the bonds that we have. Is that correct?
Well, I want to know what the amount is for, and also how much the township of Little Falls owes in bonds right now.
Okay. So Mayor, do you have that information or you want Mr. Kusia to answer that? But what our
Yeah,
bond
Okay,
amount?
that'll be fine.
I don't have those numbers in front of me presently. I'm gonna ask Mr. Cuccia to give me an assist on this.
Okay, so
All right,
Mr.
that's fine.
Kusia, for the record, please, what is the total amount of bonds that we have outstanding?
Approximately $23 million.
Okay, and this
Without-
bond amount of
23.
14,250,000 is refinancing existing debt. Is that correct?
That is correct. We are not increasing the
Excellent.
the debt for 14. All we're doing is refinancing the short-term debt into long-term debt, which is required by the statute when the bond anticipation notes, that's the short-term debt, get to a point in time where they need to go and be converted to long-term debt. That's the process that's happening now.
Okay, Mr. Fernandez, you understand that answer to your question?
I understand. So we're still going to be owing the township. When I say we, I mean the township.
Yes. Yeah,
We're
that's
gonna be
we.
owing-
You're correct.
All right.
You're
We're
part of
still going
that.
to be owing the same amount, $24
Yes,
million.
this does not increase the debt.
Okay, excellent. That was my question.
Let's get back to then. I think, Mr. Fernandez, was your second question concerning the cannabis designation of Patterson
Where
Avenue?
is-
Or, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
it was
sorry.
B2, zone B2,
Okay,
this B2, I'm sorry.
right.
What is that area?
Okay, because I want to take these in order that you asked.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
why was that area selected? That area was discussed among the mayor and I'll ask the mayor's input as well with the council members.
Mr. Scoba, before you go on, please tell us the location. I want to know
Yep,
the location.
okay.
before-
So in layperson's terms, if you're coming from Route 46 onto Patterson Avenue,
Right,
it would be that first office building all the way to where, a little bit past where the mechanic is.
No. Council President, can I jump in here?
Mhm.
I think Mr. Fernandez is asking about the B2 zone.
Are you saying
Right,
the business zone? I'm sorry, Mr.
The
Fernandez.
B2
Yes.
zone is
Okay.
the Route 46
Okay.
zone.
Okay, so the Route 46 zone is our 46 zone from, Mr. Kush, is that correct? From the exit, and it goes all the way up to about a little bit up to Great Notch area, is that correct?
The entire eastbound lane of Route 46.
Okay,
Okay.
so where you see all the car dealerships, gas
correct,
stations.
okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got your.
No, that's quite all right. And the other one is, like I said, the ordinance 1416, that I get, the Patterson Avenue
Mhm.
between 46 and I guess
Up to the mechanic, a little bit past.
exactly.
Mhm.
All right, I think it's, to be honest with you, and it will be what, on the residential area side of Patterson Avenue?
No.
Or the?
No, sir.
It's
It would be
still,
on the, it would be on the side where the meat cutters hall is.
All right, I think it's still, it will be detrimental to the area, number one, because the residents of this area, we are gonna have to deal with it, number one. And I think it will decrease the value of our homes. By having, I wouldn't wanna buy a house knowing that, 100 feet from me is a marijuana place. Would you? I guess the answer is, but.
Yeah, Mr. Fernandez,
Yes.
I own a home right on Patterson Avenue, sir. So that would be across from a home that I currently own. Along with, so yes, the answer to that question, yes, I would want those, establishments there because they're clean establishments. These are not establishments that you're going to be seeing. These activities are similar to what those buildings are doing now. These are activities that are going to be all inside. You're not going to see.
I understand. I understand all that, but the element that business attracts, the element that these business is going to bring to the area, you wouldn't want any kids, will you?
Mr. Fernandez, keep in mind, this is not saleable items as far as to the public at any of these establishments as these licenses. The only retail license that would be, and the one we're not allowing, is the retail consumption license. These licenses of produce, production and wholesaling are all indoor activities. These are not going to be residential based people going up to the window and buying any product or service. So I hope that clears that up, but you're welcome to say your input and we welcome your input. I'm not.
No, I understand, but I guess it's time to activate the neighbors and protest or do whatever it takes, because I'm sure, I'm sure, Mr. Escobar, I'm not the one that feels that way.
Okay. Does the
Anyway,
council members, Mr. Fernandez, hold on a second, because this is a very important topic, as they all are.
Yeah,
Does the
sure.
council members have any input to Mr. Fernandez's questions, specifically the cannabis? Mayor, would you like to make a comment?
Sure, Council President. To address the concerns of the element that the cannabis industry may bring to Little Falls, I think it's extremely important to note, as you indicated, Council President, that these uses that would be permitted in this special district or the B2 zone are, again, grower licenses, processor license, wholesaler, distributor, and delivery license. And just to give an example, I'll start with the delivery license. The delivery license, the use of the delivery license is literally an individual who will drive their personal vehicle to an office, sit at their laptop or their PC, and schedule deliveries between South Jersey and Central Jersey, or North Jersey and South Jersey, in scheduling the delivery of different products from facilities that they are not even sitting in. That is the appropriate use of that particular license. So to say that it brings an element, all it will bring is likely a very wealthy individual who is paying 1% additional taxes of their total gross numbers that year to the township, sitting at their PC, scheduling and clicking around all day. So to say it's going to bring some element, again, the specific use of retail is not permitted within the township of Little Falls based upon these ordinances. Now, it's also important to note that the referendum that the township of Little Falls and statewide passed, I think so. Again, I've been very clear about this on the record. I voted no on the legalization of cannabis. I think it brings an absolute nightmare to police departments and other enforcement agencies. Now, that said, it's been approved by about a 2/3 vote across the state and in the township of Little Falls. So it seems there's an overwhelming majority of individuals who say, yeah, I think we should allow it and legalize it in Little Falls. Now, that's a different question than saying, do you want a retail location right next to your house? I agree with you. But I only agree with you to the extent that you may not want a retail license being used across the street from your house. And I say that because the uses that are across the street from your house right now are really not much greater or not much less than what these cannabis licenses would use. So I agree with you in a certain extent that, again, the retail license might bring a great number of people to the township. That would be unexpected, especially initially because of the limited number of retail locations. But to the extent that we're permitting these other 5 licenses, I don't see how this use in that area in any way exasperates any sort of current use that's currently used there. So again, to answer the question, would you want this type of place, a couple 100 yards from you? Yeah, it's absolutely completely regulated. There will not be so much as a marijuana leaf on the front of these buildings. It will be as plain as it is now. So it is not a use that anybody should be offended by based upon what we are permitting and prohibiting in that particular area.
Mr.
Can
Fernandez.
can I make a comment?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
I understand what you're saying, Mr. Damiano, and I also understand the revenue that is going to bring into the township. But we are in an age that we know just about everything. We know that 2/3 of the people, like you said, Little Falls, approved it. Well, can we find out what area those 2/3 of the people in Little Falls approved the use of the marijuana, put the retailers in that area? Because one thing is approving the use of marijuana in somebody else's neighborhood, and another thing is approving the use of marijuana in your own area, right next door to you. And I bet you things will be different if that was going to happen. If we put the marijuana distributor, retailer, whatever you want to call it, grower, whatever you want to call it, right next to that 2/3 of people that voted for the approval. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, Mr. Fernandez, there would be no way of being able to find that out. I mean, this vote was a vote that people went to the voting machine, no different than if they're voting for a political candidate. So the residents had a right to keep that vote to themselves. We wouldn't know. It could be spread across the town. It could be in a certain area. We don't know that. We would never know that. There's no way of knowing that. It just doesn't work that way.
I do understand that, Mr. Escobar, but from the survey that I've done since I've seen the agenda around this area, I doubt that the 2/3, in fact, more than 90% of the area of the residents that I surveyed said, no, we don't want them here in this area. So when somebody says 2/3 approve it, I just was wondering, where are they?
Well, Mr. Fernandez, I also think it's important to note that the question you asked may have been different than what the ordinance proposes. If your question was, do you want marijuana being sold across the street from your house? Things very, and
we can't, the just disappear.
Patterson.
Mayor, you cut out, Mayor.
Mayor, you're having a little internet issue.
Yeah.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes. Can you repeat that again?
Sure. What I said was that I think that the question being asked as you polled your neighbors is important to the extent that if the question was, want marijuana being sold across the street from your house.
You're breaking out.
All right.
Mayor, you cut out again.
So
I'll tell you what, Mr. Mayor, I'll give you a call either tomorrow or the day after.
okay.
You don't mind.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Fernandez. And your
Rather
other
than
question, Your other question was regarding the Peckman. You were saying that there
Yeah,
wasn't a shovel in the ground. And there's
I'm
been
just
no action.
saying, what does the mayor and the council have against the people in Jackson Park? Because it seems to be that all the things that nobody else wants, they dump them on Jackson Park. And I went through, let me read them again. The trailer truck, that's an issue over a year that hasn't been resolved, Mr. Mayor. We still
Mr. Fernandez,
Hold on a second. Let me finish. That's an issue that hasn't been resolved over a year, and we're still suffering from the trucks. The electronic signs, 46. I remember when we had this debate in front of the council, Broward Town Road didn't want them. Great Notch didn't want them. So where did they dump them? Right on our neighborhood. Nothing is being done about the flooding in the Packman River. For years, we are the area that floods, and everybody in Little Falls knows it. And now the cannabis. Don't we pay the same amount of taxes? It sounds like our voices are not being heard. And that's the part that is aggravating.
Mr. Fernandez, and I'll let the mayor speak, but we look at all sections, every block of this community. And yes, Jackson Park has had some troubles with flooding with that nasty flood that occurred. However, other parts of Singac have had 2-3 floods in a row in a period of less than 10 years. So all parts of our community, Jackson Park, sir, is not forgotten about. There's no street that's forgotten about. We look at every block, every street in this town. We don't pick on any one area at all. That's not really, I think, fair to say at all, because at the time I've served on this council, that has not been the case. Yes, there's a trucking company in that area. That trucking company was there for many years ago.
No,
And now it got activated.
Mr. Escobar.
Yes.
No, I disagree with you.
Okay.
It hasn't been, the trucking company hasn't been here for years. It was recently that the new owner bought the building, or is in the process of buying the building.
Okay. Let me put it, Mr. Fernandez, the facility was there. Is that correct, sir? Right?
Yeah, the facility, yes, but not
The
the
facility
trucking
was there
company.
for many years. It wasn't like we said, hey, let's put this facility in there, we're gonna allow trucks. But so we look at all areas, and listen, we want all areas to thrive in this community. The mayor's in constant contact, as well as the other council members, with our congresswoman concerning the Packman, and you know that's a federal issue. This is not a township issue where we can ask that, we do have a track hoe that will help a little bit, but to mandate and fix this problem, it will be a federal issue, because it's not just Little Falls, sir. It's many communities that the Packman affects. Mayor, would you like to add anything else to that?
Yes, thanks, Councilor. I think I may have fixed my internet a little bit. We'll see.
Excellent.
First, and I'm just going to backtrack a little bit regarding the cannabis distribution in town. I know Mr. Fernandez says he's polled some of his neighbors. And I think what's important to note is what question was being asked when you polled your neighbors. Was the question, do you want marijuana or cannabis being sold across the street from your house?
Correct. Hmm?
Is a very different question. It's a very different question than, do you mind if someone uses a delivery license across the street from your house and sits at their laptop all day? So the question being posed is very, very important. Now, that aside, moving to the next issue of tractor trailers. As far as the tractor trailers, I want nothing more than for those tractor trailers to no longer use Jackson and Harrison and all of those streets to get to their location. Unfortunately, as I've told you, that building is still jammed up in some litigation from the current seller. The buyer wants nothing more, and the buyer is he's currently using the facility, wants nothing more than not have this headache anymore, because I have tortured, I can't tell how many times, and I hope it's been noticed that there have been a lot less trucks lately, and that there have been, they have not been idling on the streets. They have not been coming at all crazy hours, because I have had conversations with the property owner. Trust me, he doesn't want to deal with me anymore. I can almost guarantee that. So as far as that goes, we want to resolve that problem. This particular new business owner is willing to spend a lot of money to address this problem, because he doesn't want to deal with it either. So I say that only to say that we are working on this. It is still in the forefront, but until he owns the building, he cannot come before the planning board. He's not going to spend these tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars to apply for an application to get a different route approved. So until that time, we are unfortunately stuck in this circle. And I agree with you, it's miserable for your area, but he is doing everything he to limit the number of trucks. As far as the taxes that you pay, you, like everyone else in the entire municipality, pay taxes based upon the assessment of your property. And if what you are telling me is that your area has been decimated because of this one, property value should reflect, unfortunately, that lower value that it had, like you're indicating. If that's the case, you would be paying less taxes than some other house, packed house in another location of town. I'm not saying that they're true. All I'm saying is that taxes are taken into consideration based upon the value of a home in the location that it is. So yes, you may be paying less than the same house in another area of town. Again, I'm not saying that's definitely the case. I'm just saying that that may be true. Now, as far as the Peckman River, as Council stated, this is more than just location. This is a multi-million-dollar, and something I reported last meeting that our Congresswoman, because we were not approved in the president's budget, we were added to, and I'm just looking through the technical, we were added to. Let me find it here. I don't recall off the top of my head, but I know I read at the last, it was included in the, bear with me, in the community project slot that the Congresswoman had opened for this particular project if it did not make the president's budget. So we are still hoping for this project. I want nothing more than every single area of town to be absolutely flood-proof. You're being one of the major concerns, and obviously the Passaic Riverside being the other. If you could flood-proof this entire town, I would want nothing more.
Mayor, you're having issues with the internet again.
I don't know what's happening here tonight.
Mr. Fernandez, you're welcome. The floor is still open for you. Do you have any other
Okay.
questions?
I also noticed on resolution C, as in Charlie, is I think it's titled plenary retail consumption. Why does some of the licenses have a dollar amount and some others are totally blank? The amount that they are going to be paying, I guess, is totally blank.
Council President, I can answer that.
Okay, Mrs. Kraus is going to answer your question. Cynthia?
Excellent. Okay.
Mrs. Kraus?
So those are just indicating that all of those licensees are paying the same fee. They're the same $2,200 fee.
Okay.
There are 2 club licenses in town, which only pay $165 each, and the rest of the licensees pay $2,200 each.
All right. I'm glad you explained that.
Answer your question.
I saw them blank. And I figured it's sad to be discussed or whatever. And I do have more questions, but I think I'm going to leave it. If you promise me that you can take all the time, I can ask the question, I guess, at the end.
Okay, well, we're on agenda items. Thank you, sir, for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you in person on the 26th.
So do I.
We
I
have
miss my
another meeting
seat.
before that on the 12th. The floor is
I miss
open.
my
I see
seat,
we
believe me.
have- Okay, thank you.
There's
Well,
no one
I
else
see
with
we-
their hand raised, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kusia. I see we have individuals that joined us this evening. If you do have questions or concerns, you're welcome. If not, we're going to close out to the this area of the public comment. Seeing none. Can I have a motion to close the public comment, please?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Quaddi, second.
Second,
Second by Councilmember Havelitz. All those in favor of closing to the public for agenda items only signify by saying aye.
aye.
All those opposed to that motion signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Moved by Councilmember Quaddi, second by Councilmember Vanchery. Mrs. Kraus, please call the roll for the consent agenda.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Sieber,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes, Mrs. Kraus, at this time, please read ordinance 1415.
Introduction of ordinance number 1415, an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending the Township Code, Chapter 280, entitled Zoning, with a second reading and public hearing scheduled for July 26, 2021.
Have a motion to introduce ordinance 1415.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Quaddi,
Second,
second by Councilmember Havelitz. Mrs. Kraus, call the roll to introduce 1415.
Councilmember Hablitz,
yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Sieber,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Mrs. Kraus, at this time, please read ordinance 1416.
Introduction of ordinance number 1416, an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending the Township Code, Chapter 280, entitled Zoning, to establish Article 14, a special commercial district, with a second reading and public hearing scheduled for July 26, 2021.
I have a motion to introduce ordinance 1416.
So moved.
Moved
Moved.
by Councilmember Kawadi, second by Councilmember Hablitz. Mrs. Kraus, call the roll to introduce 1416.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Seaver,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Mrs. Kraus, at this time, please read ordinance 1417.
Introduction of ordinance number 1417, an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending the Little Falls Fire Division in the Code of the Township of Little Falls Code Section 3-7.8, entitled Fire Division, with a second reading and public hearing scheduled for July 26, 2021.
Can I have a motion to introduce ordinance 1417?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Seaver, second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Kawadi. Mrs. Kraus, please call the roll to introduce 1417.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Seaver,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Mrs. Kraus, at this time, please read ordinance 1418.
Introduction of ordinance number 1418, an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending the Little Falls Fire Division in the Code of the Township of Little Falls Code Section 82.1, entitled Fire Prevention, with a second reading and public hearing scheduled for July 26, 2021.
I have a motion to introduce ordinance 1418.
So moved.
Moved by
Moved.
Councilmember Kawadi, second by Councilmember Hablitz. Mrs. Kraus, please call the roll to introduce 1418.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Seaver,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes, at this time, Mrs. Kraus, please read ordinance 1419.
Introduction of ordinance number 1419, an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending the Township Code, Chapter 71, fees, with a second reading and public hearing scheduled for July 26, 2021.
Can I have a motion to introduce 1419?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember
Second.
Kawadi, second by Councilmember Seaver. All those in favor of introducing Mrs. Kraus, call the roll on 1419.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Seaver,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes, can I have a motion to open to the public for general matters?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Kawadi, second by Councilmember Vanchery. All those in favor of opening to the public for general matters signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that motion, please signify by saying nay. Motion carries. The floor is open. Mr. Kusia, is that Mr. Barone?
Mr. Fernandez is first on my list.
Mr. Fernandez, would you like to go first, or do you want to yield to Mr. Barone?
Since he's been quiet all this time, I will be more than glad to.
Okay, Mr. Barone, Mr. Fernandez has yielded to you, and you have the floor, sir. Name and
Thank you very
address.
much. Tom Barone, 26 Beaumont Terrace. I'll be real brief so you can get back to it, Mr. Fernandez. I think Councilman Vanchery mentioned it in his opening report, but just on a positive note, I just wanted to thank the council and Chief Post, not even so much for the end result. I spoke at the last council meeting, and I could attest that the next morning at about 7:15 a.m., I saw Councilman Vanchery and Chief Post out there kind of evaluating the area and checking out what I had alluded to with the dangerous intersection as I walked my dog. And while I'm glad that you made the decision that I was correct and we painted the lines, it's amazing for such a quick turnaround. I was really more just impressed with the fast investigation and turnaround into looking into it. It's nice to know that, you know, with big matters up there, sometimes the little matters don't get heard, and you guys are always very diligent on getting on those things. So that's all I had. A real quick thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barone, for joining us this evening at our council meeting. We appreciate your comments, and they'll be duly noted in the minutes. Mr. Fernandez, the floor is yours, sir. Mr. Fernandez, can you hear us?
Yes.
The floor is yours, sir.
All right. This is the question that I alluded to previously. and I'm gonna jump around the as it was sent to me, just to protect the person that sent it to me. I'm sure you can understand that. It says, Louis, I'm sorry to interfere with your plans. Don't forget the pressure being put on the don't forget to mention that the pressure being put on the members of the Enterprise Fire Company to sell their building to KMV Realty, I've heard that the administration wanted them to sell the building and merge with company on Wilmore Road. I don't know who he is, but I mean, I imagine that is you, Mr. Damiano. He already moved the central calling location from that house into the police station. He threatened to move their trucks, which the town owns, to Wilmore Road site. The two members pushing the membership to sell where Assistant Chief, I'm not gonna mention the name, who is a foreman, I'm not gonna mention where. The other one is James DeMaria, the town construction inspector. And he goes on and on. Is there any truth to these rumors? And what do you have to do about this?
Mr. Fernandez, you know the rules of meetings when one brings a document, unless these are your words that you're telling the council and you want.
No, they are not. They are not.
Well, then, Mr. Fernandez, you know the rules of how we operate. You would have to disclose that to us in order for us to talk about that, because we can't entertain an email from an unknown. It's just like when residents come on, they tell their name and address. It's no difference with the communication, sir. And I'm sorry to be a stickler, but those are the rules. If you want to disclose it, if you want to tell us who that email came from, then we can have that discussion. But if not, then we can't entertain.
No, I really don't want to disclose the identity of the.
And I appreciate that, but I hope you appreciate our rules that we have to follow.
You know, funny thing is that I'm sure you know, Mr. Escobar.
Yes, sir.
I went to the planning board quite a few times, and I wasn't allowed to introduce the signatures of residents that had signed the signatures are not allowed. So now you come back with this. This is believe me, it's illegal. I'll be glad to show it to anybody. If you let me scratch the name of the person, I have no problem with showing.
Let me just clear this up, that what the basis of this council or this mayor facilitating any sale of the firehouse is incorrect, sir. We don't get involved in sales of firehouses. That's totally up to the departments themselves. So we have no skin in that game. If you want to call it on a layperson's term, we do not get involved in that. The firehouse is up to the fire company. If they want to do something with it, it's up to that membership. You're welcome.
Council President,
Yes, Mayor.
if I may, you know, I know this is an anonymous complaint at this point, but just for argument's sake, if I assume it's Mr. Fernandez who has these concerns here today, I feel that we need to respond to this, because I have been implicitly clear with the developers as well as both firehouses that this township takes absolutely no position whatsoever whether or not that firehouse is ever relocated. The township's position on this particular item is that if there is a private deal between a developer and a firehouse, so be it. If there is no deal between a private developer and the fire department, so be it. If, in fact, we've taken tests to determine if there is an increase in response times, if they remain. And the fact of the matter is, if the fire company chooses to remain where they are, then they will remain where they are. There is absolutely no pressure by myself to move township-owned trucks. That is an absolutely outrageous position. I know exactly where it is coming from, and it is outright ridiculous. So
you know it's not from me, though.
I know it is not coming from you. I absolutely know it is not coming from you. I absolutely know exactly where it is coming from, anonymous or not. But the position, nonetheless, is outrageous, and I absolutely deny ever indicating whatsoever. And if you review the fire department's chiefs, the Board of Fire Officers meetings, actual minutes, and if you review the minutes, I guarantee you, I was at a meeting where I told all of them that this township takes absolutely no position, that this township would not be relocating any trucks, that this township would not purchase trucks for that company if they remain there. It is absolutely ridiculous. This is politically motivated from within the fire department, and I have absolutely no tolerance when I have been implicitly clear with entire department that this is not happening, and yet they still take the steps to send you a quote anonymous letter to put it on a record because they don't have the wherewithal within them to come stand here with their face on the screen and state that they have a concern with it. So if any of those members have a concern, they should come to this Zoom, they should come to a council meeting in person, and I will guarantee them the exact same thing that I am stating here today. This township is not relocating that fire department, or that fire company, I should say, that this township takes no position as to whether or not they are relocating. With respect to dispatch, the reason that dispatch was moved was purely from a response standpoint. And I will tell you, if you ask any of the dispatchers, the fire dispatchers who have been relocated to 225 Main Street, I can tell you they are now located in a very professional dispatch center, not a 6x6 room with a 12-inch TV that they watch, where there was absolutely no foot traffic in and out. They are now in a professional dispatch where police are constantly in and out. And the beauty of it is actually this: when an EMS related call comes in to the police department, it can now immediately be dispatched from that location. What used to happen is if you dialed 911 and indicated that you had a major medical emergency, what would have to happen is the 911 dispatcher at 225 Main Street would pick up a telephone and they would call the dispatcher that was located on Patterson Ave. And they would literally play the game of telephone as to what was needed, who needed to be sent, what the emergency was. And if you want to talk about inefficient and you want to talk about putting lives in danger, what we had set up was just that. This is far more efficient. This is a much better program. And I will almost guarantee that if you ask any one of those dispatchers, they are all far happier in the location that they are in now. They felt like they were in rented space at a fire company where if they had to drink a bottle of water or use a roll of toilet paper, that it wasn't really theirs to use. And understandably so, because each company puts, buys all of those things for their own company. So they are now in a professional dispatch center where we now have, again, 2 individuals at any time to dispatch for police emergencies, fire emergencies, and they are all cross-trained. So what we are now running is a far more professional operation. But again, I had to respond to your statements, and again, not your statements. I understand that. The statements that you read from another individual about that fire company being relocated because it's absolute hogwash.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for clarifying your position. And this is a follow-up question. So is there any truth about the firehouse trying to be sold to KMV Realty, number one? And number two, is it, what can you tell us about the pressure that these supposedly 2 individuals, and I think I mentioned one name, is it any truth to the rumors that these 2 individuals are putting pressure on the membership to sell that building to KMV Realty?
So first, there's absolutely no pressure being applied whatsoever from anyone. There are certainly discussions that are ongoing between KV Realty and Company One, but I only get the information after the meetings occur. And they tell me what happened. And I know at some point there was discussion. I know at some point the discussions died off. I know more recently the discussions have started again. It is, again, entirely up to that company what they decide to do. They have their own ability to vote on whether or not they move. And the decision will ultimately be up to them. And that's all that there is on that issue.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Fernandez. Before we close out this meeting, is there anyone else that would like to speak? Are there any council members that would like to say any final comments?
Yes, hello. May I say something regarding 1417?
Okay, yeah, your name and address, please.
Sure. J.M. Crow, 45 Jacobus Ave.
I'm sorry, we're having a little hard time. Are you on a phone?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Joe Krell.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Krell, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you. There's obviously a lot of work that went into that ordinance. But I would like to, and so kudos for that. On the other hand, I would like to possibly suggest something very simple. There's a lot of changes in there, or a lot of deltas between that, the previous one, as well as company bylaws, which is another problem altogether and need to align with that. But just one small thing, if it would be possible to put line numbers in it, because I'm sure there's a lot of questions and a lot of debate back and forth, but right now, just from the document that's issued, I'm not sure that it's going to be very easy to identify lines and numbers and segments and paragraphs to which to converse upon. But beyond that, thank you. That's all I wanted to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Crow, for joining us this evening.
What is he talking about?
Mr. Fernandez, he's mentioning about, I guess, gather an ordinance that we're discussing this evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does any other council members like to
Council
make
President.
closing remarks?
Council President, what Mr. Krell
Councilman
was,
Cherry, the floor is yours.
what Mr. Krell was referring to was ordinance number 1417. So I know it's hard to pick up the audio because of the phone, but that's what he was referring to. So he had some questions related
Yes,
to the
correct.
fire. That's what it was.
And what is, if you don't mind me, because I don't.
Mr. Fernandez, okay.
Okay,
The
no
floor is
worries.
yours, sir. It's okay. The floor is yours. This is not like an open discussion, so go ahead. Mr.
Well, what
Fernandez.
is
the floor is yours.
ordinance 14, well, what is it referring to ordinance 14?
He's referring to the fire ordinance that was on the agenda this
Okay,
evening.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. At this time, can I have a motion to close the, to public comment?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Quaddi, second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Havas. All those in favor to closing the public comment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that motion signify by saying nay. That motion carries for the record. At this time, can I have a motion to close this meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery,
Second.
second by Councilmember Seaver. All those in favor of closing this meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
those opposed to that motion signify by saying nay. This meeting is now closed. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and thank you to the staff. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
All right.